Hi all, I'm Ashwati. This course I'll be teaching you all things required to write and develop C++ program. C++ is a general purpose programming language and widely used nowadays for competitive programming. Although it has been around 3 decades since C++ came into existence, it continues to inevitably dominate the information technology sector across the globe. Top-notch software companies like Microsoft, Google, Amazon have developed their file systems and projects in C++. Even your favorite childhood games were developed using C++ like Counter-Strike and StarCraft. Interesting, right? This tutorial is designed to get a complete overview of C++ language. So right away, let's get started. In this session, we will be covering the following topics. We will have a brief look into the history of C++, installation of C++. We'll be using code blocks to create your source file, build and run the program. So I'll be guiding you through the installation steps for the same. We will have a look into the difference between a procedural-oriented programming language and an object-oriented programming language, features of C++, and handling of input and output in C++, the namespace concept, and the object-oriented programming concept will be discussed in this session. Let's begin by looking into the origin of C++. The developer of C++, John Stroustrup, found that the C programming language lacks simulations and decided to develop a language that would overcome the drawbacks offered by C and called it C with classes. He developed C++ in 1979 by adding features from his favorite programming language, Simula. The motivation for developing C++ was driven by the fact that he faced certain problems while analyzing the Unix kernel with respect to the distributed systems when he began working in AT&T Bell Laboratories. So, the journey of C++ began in 1979 where it was then named as C with classes. In 1984, it was renamed to C++. It continues with various upgradations and new versions released and continues until now with the latest C++20 that is being developed. Let me help you with the installation process of code blocks, which we will be using to create the source file, build and run the same. Code blocks is a free C, C++ and Fortran IDE built to meet the most demanding needs of its users. It is designed to be very extensible and fully configurable. So let's move ahead and see the installation process. So go to the official web page of Code Blocks. Go to Downloads. Download the binary release. So here you can see multiple files. We'll be using Code Blocks 2003 file because this includes the additionally GCC G++ Fortran IDE. Source downloaded from sourceforge.net. So once the download is done, you can run the setup file. So proceed next, agree, next. Here you can select your destination file and then install. So this is the working environment of Code Blocks. Let me show you how to create your source file. So go to File, select an empty file. So this is your editor. You can write your program here. So first save your file. Control S. You can name your file here. So let me name it as first. Now since you are working in C++ language, the source file should have the extension .cpp. Save. So now you have created your source file. Now using the editor, you can write your program. So let me write a simple C++ program that is printing a statement, say hello world. I'm not explaining the program here. Don't worry if you don't understand the program. This is just to familiarize handling code blocks. So let me start writing the code. So the first statement is your file inclusion. So double slash is used in C++ to comment a particular statement. So commenting is very helpful for documentation purpose. Whichever line you have commented will not be given to the compiler for the compilation process. It is just for the programmer to understand what that particular line is going to perform. So let me comment it as file inclusion. Next, you have to include your namespace. I have my main function. So I have created my program here. So if you have done, then save your file. So after this, you have to build and run your program to get the output. So go to build option, build and run. So you can see your output here. It is printing hello world. So if there are no errors, no syntactical errors, your program works fine and you can view your output here. Now let's suppose if you have made some mistakes in your program, how to tackle the same using code blocks. Say for example, I'm removing the semicolon here. Semicolon is marking the end of a statement. Suppose I have missed it. I'm going to build and run the program. So let me go to build and run option. So this red mark is indicating an error. As long as you have an error in your program, you're not going to get the output. So you have to fix the error and then rebuild your program to get the expected output. So see here, it is showing an error message. Line number 6, error, expected semicolon before return. So go back to your program. Line number 6, it is expecting a semicolon before return statement. So give a semicolon, save your program and then build and run the code. So now your program works fine. So this is how you use code blocks to create your source file, build and run the same. Difference between an object-oriented programming language and a procedural-oriented programming language. An object-oriented programming language follows a bottom-up approach, whereas a procedure-oriented language follows a top-down approach. So what are these approaches? In top-down approach, we focus on breaking up the problem into smaller parts. Each part is programmed separately, therefore contain redundancy. In bottom-up approach, we solve smaller problems and integrate it as a whole and complete the solution. Redundancy is minimized by using data encapsulation and data hiding. Object-oriented programming language focuses on data security, whereas no such data security is provided by an object-oriented programming language. There are features like access specifiers available in object-oriented programming language which poses some restrictions to the accessibility of data, whereas no such features are available with procedure-oriented programming language. Examples of object-oriented language you can look into C++, Java, Python, etc. For procedural-oriented language, you can consider the examples like C, Fortran, Pascal, etc. Features of C++. C++ is quite similar to C programming. In fact, C++ supports all the features offered with C with the addition to various other important features like object-oriented programming. We can say C++ is the advanced version of C programming. Features of C++ give multiple reasons to upgrade our skills from C to C++. So let's see what are the features. OOP and DMA. This is one of the most important features of C++. It employs the use of objects while programming. These objects help you implement real-time problems based on the four pillars of OOPS, that is object-oriented programming: abstraction, encapsulation, polymorphism, and inheritance. Coming to DMA. DMA stands for Dynamic Memory Allocation. It refers to performing memory allocation manually by the programmer, thereby providing flexibility to the programmer. The next feature is portable. In simple terms, portability refers to using the same piece of code in varied environments. That is, suppose you write a piece of code to find the sum of numbers in Microsoft Windows, and for some reason you want to switch your operating system to Linux. This code will work in a similar fashion as it did in Windows. C++ has a rich library. Developers have access to lots of inbuilt functions provided by C++ language. This saves time and makes development fast. For example, IOStream. This contains C++ standard input and output functions. CMath contains math library functions. Similar way, there are multiple inbuilt functions available with C++. C++ is a middle-level language. The ability to do both low-level and high-level programming. This is the reason why C++ is known as a middle-level programming language. When we talk about low-level programming, C++ is used to develop system applications such as the kernel, driver, etc. It's a case-sensitive programming language. That is, it treats the uppercase and lowercase characters in a different manner. C++ is a compiler-based programming language. Without compilation, no C++ program can be executed. The compiler first compiles the program and then it is executed.